All right, so once you're done drawing everything that you need to draw for this project, I just want to show you how you're going to set up these layouts. There is a whole entire separate thing in Blackboard. You've got the subdivision plat you've done, you've got the mortgage survey you've done, there's a separate one for called publishing the drawings. And so that's what I'm just going to kind of walk you through. I'm not going to do the entire thing, I'm just going to hit the high points. So you've got everything that you need done here. Somewhere I have this guy right here. So you're going to set up 2 layouts for this project. You guys already created a civil template, so you probably already have those layouts set up the way that you need them to be. It says define the page setup, so that's just setting it up for 11 by 17, just doing what you did in your, that's what you did in your template. So this is just talking about the viewport, so you guys have already done that. So the subdivision plat, you're going to need 2 different viewports in there, and this is going to walk you through how to do that. I want to show you. So when we come over here, and I'm going to come to this layout that's done, I just want to show you, you've got 2 different viewports. You've got this viewport that has a scale of 1 to 100. And then you've got this viewport here that has a scale of 1 to 40, and it's just zooming into that cul-de-sac. When you zoom into that cul-de-sac, the instructions are asking you to do a circle viewport. And I just want to show you how you can do this. So I'm going to erase that viewport, and I'm going to draw it again from scratch. I'm going to set my viewport layer current. I'm going to draw a circle. And really, the size circle doesn't matter so much right now because you can adjust it to be bigger or smaller when you need it. But I don't want this to be a rectangle, and I can tell when it's a rectangle because I'll see lines going all the way out and to the shape of what a rectangle would have been. So just draw a circle, and then we're going to go to that layout ribbon. And remember, under rectangular, if you pull this down, there was the object option. And we did this when we made our, remember we made an ellipse, I think, when we did that viewports practice. So object, you just click on that circle, and it turns that circle into a viewport. So now I'm going to double click inside that viewport, and I'm just going to scroll in to see what I need to see. I'm going to set my viewport scale to 1 to 40. And when I do that, mine's already set up to do this. See, my circle needs to be a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to kind of center this right in there. I'll go into paper space and just make my viewport bigger. It's just a circle. So just like you can make a circle bigger, adjust the size of it, move or whatever, it's just a circle. It's just a circle now with special properties that made it into a viewport. But now I can see everything that I need to see. Mine on this particular drawing was already set up to have those particular dimensions have that 1 to 40 viewport scale. But what you can do is just come over here. They were set up originally to have 1 to 100. And really all we need are the pins or the stakes and the leaders here, this guy, and this guy, and these guys. That's all we need to see. So when you hand this in to me, I don't want to see bearing, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to see, any information on these lines or these lines. All I want to see are the stakes, the leaders, the relevant information about the cul-de-sac and the street, size and radius and all that, and then that 10-foot dimension. That's all I need to see here. So once you get that set up, you'll have this viewport set up. I actually created a separate viewport for this guy right here. I don't even know what my scale is. Yeah, 1 to 100. So there you go, Pam. 1 to 100 is what I thought looked good. That included my legend and everything. But don't forget to put in paper space, you're going to put this guy right here and this guy right here. Those are really common things to forget to put when I'm doing red lines. I see a lot of people leave those off. You can come over here to the curved data table. I'm going to erase that just temporarily and show you how to put that in. So I'm going to go to the annotate tab, in your template, you were asked to create a curve data table, modify. If you didn't do it in your template, then your instructions were walking you, in this chapter, you get instructions walking you through it as well. But you can see I have, in addition to data, header, and length, I now have one called data, header, and title. I have a curve number and I have length. And when we did those, you clicked in here, you went to additional format, and you have a suffix of an apostrophe, so the foot symbol under length. And then under curve number, additional format, we had a prefix of a C. And so when this happens, now I'm going to put in that table. I actually prefer the one that says specify window. And let's come back in here. This is walking you through how to do that if you didn't already. But this is the curve data table. This is the stuff that you're going to have to type into that table. So I'm going to move this to the other screen, and I'm going to come in here. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, or 6 columns, I'm sorry. I choose the specify window option because what's nice about that is I can draw a window. I can draw it as big as I need it and actually, snap it into that corner. The column width will just size itself, that they're all going to be evenly spaced in that general area. Instead of the other way where you have to like you type in how wide your columns are. I don't know how wide the columns are supposed to be. They just need to be kind of evenly spaced. But now I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to type curve data. This is blank. I've got RIAC bearing. It's a little bit big here. And it does need to snap into the corner. But so now that I'm filling this out, I've got C1, C2, C3, that's the curve numbers. But what I can do is highlight this entire column, right click, cell style, curve number. And that way, when I come in here, remember it had a prefix of a C, so I just have to press 1, enter, 2, 3, 4. Just saves me a little extra step. It's not like doing this saves you a ton of time, but it's cool to know. The reason we're asking you to do it is so you know that that's there. It's an option for you. When you come over here to R for radius, if you look, radius is in feet. Arc and chord are all in feet, RAC. So what you can do is highlight this, right click, go to cell styles, and we're going to change this to length. Once you change it to length, you just have to type in 15, enter, and you already set up that cell style to have a suffix of the foot symbol with 2 decimal places. So 25 or 50 or like whatever it needs to be in there. Actually, yours would be, that's 50, what is it, 50, 50, almost all of them are 50. If you were to type in 15.00, Ashley, 15.00 feet, I want you to see what happens. So you're totally going to come across that if you haven't done it already. The reason it's doing that is, what does that foot symbol mean? The foot symbol means minutes right now. And so it is doing some sort of calculation behind the scenes. It's trying to help you. It's like, all right, well, I don't know what that means, but 15.00, that little foot symbol meant something else. It doesn't mean feet right now. That's why we're forcing it to have that suffix to look like it. But if this happens to you, you can know what's going on there. And that's for the A and the C. The I, you're just going to have to type that in. 51 degrees, 49 or 59.43. Don't forget that degree symbol when you're typing that in. So I'll come in here and I'm going to type in 51, you're going to type in %, %D is going to give you that degree symbol. So 51, % D, 59, 43, that's fine. And it's just going to look like that. And you're going to have the same kind of setup for bearing as well. So you're going to have to type in that % D for every one of those degree symbols. If you want, this is a little fancy pants, but I don't know if it's even worth it, but if you highlight it and Control C, that way when you come over here and type, you can just do 60 and a Control V. It's not saving you tons of time, but % D for, you know, however many, 11 times 2 actually, so 22 times. If you want to copy and paste, you could totally do that. Just your call, whatever you want to do there. But you're going to fill this out. This is busy work. This is just you typing. It's going to take you some time to do that. You will get into Civil class, and you will appreciate that Civil 3D is going to automatically generate a table for you. Yay! Yay! But in the meantime, you can't use that here. So anyway, you're going to come in here, double, triple check yourself. Like after you type them in, just look it over. When I'm grading this, that's where a lot of mistakes are, is somebody just transposes numbers. It's so easy, you get to typing. And really, when I'm grading, all I do is I have the check print on one side, and I have your drawing on the other side, and I'm just looking back and back and back and back and back. I have most of these memorized after 12 years of doing it, but 14 years of doing it, wow. But anyway, there's no special trick or cool, like anything that I'm doing to check your drawings. I'm doing exactly what you could do to yourself. You can just pull this up and pull it up on one screen and do what I'm doing, just back and back and back and back. Just double check all of these things. I think that's the only really tricky thing. The rest of this, you're going to type in the notes for the mortgage survey. The mortgage survey is pretty straightforward. Right here, it just, you're going to have, I put in a special viewport for that, for this guy right here. And the legend, honestly, you don't have to have a separate legend. You can have the same legend, you know, where this, you see how this legend only has iron stake found and iron stake set, whereas you come over here and this legend has concrete monument. When you have legends, a lot of times you have a legend with stuff that isn't necessarily on that map. So it's fine if you want to use that same legend. There's just no concrete monument you're going to find in this, but you'll find the stakes. So that's fine if you want to use that same one. You're going to fill this out. Instead of leaving it John Doe, go ahead and plug your name in there. I know you're not a registered professional land surveyor, but, you know, just have something in there. But also in your check print, the viewport scale is 1 to 20, and in your check print it says 1 to 20 like your viewport scale would. So when I double click inside of here and you look at my viewport scale, it says 1 to 20. But when you're typing this out, you need to change it to say 1 inch equals 20 feet. So do make that change. It's different than what you see in your project, but
what do you mean type it out? You don't want it like that?
I want it like this. Don't write 1 to 20. Write 1 inch to 20 equals, or the equal or the colon or the equal sign, I don't care, but I want to see inches and feet on that. So and it's a typo in the handout that you have. Do y'all see anything bad about this project right here now that you've drawn it? Am I seeing any dashed lines? So if you don't see your dashed lines, there's 3 things that you need to check. In here, PSLT scale, that should be 0. And if you region all, that should fix that. If it does not help, when you come back into model space over here, you remember you've got your LT scale. And LT scale is going to be something big, but you know, you can come in here and play around with different, not that big. You can play around with different LT scales and see what it is that works the best. If you still, your PSLT scale is set to 0 and it's not working, LT scale is set to something reasonable and it still doesn't look right. Once we start using annotative scaling, there's another LT scale that's introduced, and it's called MS LT scale. It's model space line type scale. And that is, it has something to do with your annotative scaling. So what I always do is I turn PSLT scale to 0, I turn PSLT scale off, I put MSLT scale to 0, I turn MSLT scale off. That way we're just dealing with your LT scale. So
Yeah, none of my stuff in model space shows the dashes or anything, and even
Yeah.
at home, it doesn't really do it, and I plug in up here and then it all comes up.
yeah, so at home, check your MSLT scale, model space line type scale. What I do is, I know they're trying to be helpful with paper space and model space, but we've got 3 different types of line type scales now, and that's way confusing. So I turn off paper space, I turn off model space. That way I only have to mess with my just regular old LT scale. So that's what I recommend for you guys. That's just kind of a little troubleshooting there. The rest of that is just straightforward. You know, you've already got your title blocks and everything set up in there. This is just setting up a viewport. So really the only different kind of weird new thing is the circle viewport, adjusting, like adding in. I forgot to show y'all how to add it. You know, you're going to highlight it, right click, annotative object scale, add and delete. Just make sure you've got 1 to 100 and 1 to 40 on the ones that you need. I would not recommend turning this button on and then saying 1 to 40, because every single annotative thing in your drawing is going to be 1 to 40, and you don't really need that. So I would not turn that on. Another way that you can do it is to just click it, go into properties, under properties, annotative scale. You get that same list when you click on the little button.
What are you doing that for?
This is just to add in that 1 to 40 so that it shows up in this viewport as well. This is the 1 to 40, that's the 1 to 100.
Okay.
But we don't want everything to show up in the 1 to 40
What's with
viewport.
that little duplicative, like if you click on curve 5 and then it shows it real small and then it's got.
Yeah, so when I'm over here in model and I see curve 5, I'm right now looking at a 1 to 20, let's put it in 1 to 100. I'm actually looking at the 1 to 100 version of it right now. If I switch myself to 1 to 40, I actually have a 1 to 40 version. When I click on something that has 2 different annotative scales, you see a ghost of the other scale, or however many other scales you have, you see a little ghost of it. One thing that I do recommend that you do is once you've gotten all of these little multi-leaders in place, set at 1 to 40 and 1 to 100, come into the 1 to 40 version, like over here where it says 1 to 40 right now, and I'm looking at the little tiny ones. They're going to come in all kinds of wonky because they're way out here.
Yeah.
And so what I like to do is just, you can grab them by the grips and you can adjust just the 1 to 40 version without affecting the 1 to 100 version. Use the grips though, not the move command, but just use the grips. I think they look a whole lot better if you keep them inside this building line, because if you don't, they're kind of crossing over. It's awkward. You don't want a line crossing through a text. You know, you want to make sure you can read them clearly. And since it's kind of squished up in this viewport, it just looks a lot better to keep them inside of there. So that's what I would recommend that you do. And also that C-Cove, I know I showed y'all last week, but the C-Cove as well, when you grab this, it's got its own little grip. So you can move that version of the C-Cove wherever you want by that grip, and it'll only affect this viewport, not the other grip. If you use the move command, it'll move them both, but using the grip is how you do that.
Once I did the views, the name views, the UCS, everything for a while after I just got going with it, and I was confused to make sure that, is that the rotated view? Or
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you called yours, but yeah.
Okay, rotated should be that way, and the orthogonal or however you pronounce it should be straight up.
That's what I would do. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It gets confusing. When your final one is going to be crooked like this with your north arrow pointing straight up.
Okay.
Whereas it's easier to draw. The reason we made that name view, it's easier to draw when you make your property straight with your arrow at an angle. It's just easier to offset and dimension. It just makes life easier to do it that way, but you do have to put it back. Because on your paper,
something like in the light where I was reading, I was like, "Is that right? Did I start backwards and do it the other way?" I was like, "Oh." Okay.
Yes, sir, Matthew.
The iron stakes in the concrete mantle, they have to be this property size for the subdivision plot.
So if you follow the directions, I don't remember what the size of those are. I want to say a 0.10, but they're annotative. So that was a really important thing. When you made those blocks,
Oh,
you
right.
needed to make those blocks annotative. That
I'll
way
need
they
to
would
fix that.
scale
I'll
themselves.
try to fix that.
You
I'll
can-
try to fix that.
Okay, you can just go into the block editor
Okay.
with nothing at all selected. Go into the properties
Okay.
when you're in the block editor, and if you scroll all the way to the bottom, one of the last kind of categories of options, it'll say annotative, yes or no. Change it to yes, and that makes the whole block annotative.
Okay.
It might not update off just straight away. One thing though that, where was it? Oh man, somewhere yesterday, I'm sorry, Friday. What was that command that I told you about? Where we read, it was like I forget the name of that command, where you can take an attributed block and you can read like kind of a regen, and it refreshes it and makes it
Attended said synchronize?
do what?
That tension synchronize.
Yeah,
right?
that was it. So we'll go to insert reference. It was at sync. Somewhere in here, somebody showed me. I thought it was in
Log
here
editor.
that it was, there was an at sync icon. Dang it.
Or maybe you need to put it up, bring it up, I guess.
I don't remember where it was. If I find it, oh, there it is. Synchronize. So I don't know if that'll work. I know it'll work for your blocks and stuff when you make a change to an attributed block. I don't know if that'll help with, I don't think that'll help now that I think about it, with your, what do you call it? The blocks that you made for the, if you forgot to make your stakes annotative. I don't know if that'll work, but block
First you have to
definition
block editor,
synchronize
then
is a cool thing to
synchronize,
know
right?
about.
After you do that.
Yeah, I don't know that that'll fix your stakes, the problem with the stakes not being, but if you come back, I would try that, or regen all or something like that, to see
Right.
if your stakes will update with the 1-to-100
Right.
version. All right, do you guys have any questions for me?
Nope.
Okay, well, that was it. When you're done with this, you're gonna publish a DWIF. Ooh, let me show y'all how to publish the DWIF. That's true. From in here, you're gonna go to output. Make sure that this does not say current layout. You want it to say all layouts. I think I showed y'all this the other day. But then you'll export a DWIF and then save it out. And that way you've got one DWIF that's all of your layouts. And it'll only be two. If you have more than 2 layouts, delete the extra one. You'll have one layout for your subdivision, one layout for your mortgage survey. And you'll just say, I'm on
doing this than what we did for the other ones.
output DWIF.
Yeah.
There's another way, and the directions in the book sometimes tell you to do publish. And doing the publish command, we're going to talk about the publish command later. The publish command I think is great for some things, but I don't feel like it's as in your face, like doing it this way. I just feel like it's easier because you see it that it's going to do all layouts. You can see what it is that you're about to make into a DWIF.
It's all layouts and it's multi-sheet.
All layouts,
file.
and then like when you come in here and you export to the DWIF, hold on. All
So,
layouts, export DWIF. You can, if you look in here under options, you'll see here that it needs to say multi-sheet. Because remember, if it says single sheet, it'll make a DWIF out of every layout because you said all layouts, but it'll make each one into an individual DWIF. And you're going to have several, in this project, 2 DWIFs that you're going to submit. If you send me a project, you send it to me on Blackboard to grade, and you attach 2 DWIFs, the mortgage survey and the subdivision, I'm going to clear your attempt and send you an email and say, go make this into 1 DWIF with 2 pages. And that's under options here. Another great thing about doing it this way as opposed to the publish command is you can check that little box right here where it says open in viewer when done. And that way when it finishes publishing your DWIF, plus it pulls it up, you're forced to look at it. So you can tell if you had layers turned off or if you forgot to set it to monochrome, or, you know, you can check yourself, look at it first before you submit it to me.
So like on the red line thing that we did where the layout and title block was like two things, but like one project,
Mm-hmm.
we sent those as like two separate.
Yeah, because you
With-
had to
'cause that's
you
what
had to
that
send
was.
that as two separate files. They were separate
Okay.
drawing files, but in
Okay,
this
or
case,
whatever.
it's one project, one DWIF.
Okay, and then if we were to save, you know, the plot settings or whatever with that DWA view thing or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
now save the drawing with that now, like on a flash drive, and when we go home, that setting is there, so we don't necessarily have to be like if we finish this or whatever and submit it, we can do it from home without having the funky plot style business going on. But that's the only thing we have to change, and we have to be here to change it.
Yeah, I don't. I think if you have it set to the DWIF EVU A&E, which is the plotter that we created, and it's just it's a phantom plot. It's not like a real machine or anything. We just created it. I think if you were to do that and go home, I don't know personally. I haven't tried to open the project at home, but I think it would say unknown printer
Mhm.
when you get
I
home.
think it does. Yeah, there's
And
no way to
so
get around that.
There's
then.
no way to get around that.
Okay.
Well, there is. There's a couple of ways that you can get around that. What we can do is you could always talk to Brian or one of the guys in the tech office, and they can just give you that printer, and you can just add it at home. You know, put it on your flash drive, that printer name,
Plot
set
style
up
or whatever
plot.
it is.
Yeah, plot style. I'm sorry. Or not plot style. It's a printer, and you can just put it on your flash drive and then load it at home, and it'll look like it's a printer at home, just like it looks like it's a printer here. It's just a definition of a printer. You could do that, or when you're at home, if you right click and go up to your page setup manager, modify. There are some that AutoCAD gives you. This DWIF 6 ePlot is one I would recommend. You'll have that at home.
Yeah, we do.
You'll have that at home. That comes with AutoCAD.
Can we use that one?
You can use that. The only thing is, if you use that one, go look and see, because the plot margins are going to be different than the DWIF eView. Just adjust your border to be inside the margins.
Okay.
You can totally use that if you want to. When we created that DWIF eView A&E, AutoCAD wasn't giving you all of these. So you were stuck with like real printers, like, you know, it just wasn't working. And what you tried to do, it would cut your page off and or cut your border off on the page. So you're welcome to use.
I'm sorry.
Today will be the last class day that we have to work on it. So 1 week from today, the red line.
Next
Monday, yep.
Next Monday's the last sole day.
Last day to hand in the red line. If you need an extension, let me know. But the last day to hand in the red line. Today will be the last day we work in class on it. I'm gonna
on this
this
civil
project, on the civil project.
Oh,
We were
by
supposed
the
to
way.
start the cabin today,
Okay.
according to the schedule, but that schedule is flexible, and we needed more time on this.
By the way,
Yes, sir.
did you do our red line previous red lines?
You have your red lines back.
Okay, so where is I to find that exactly?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked. So if we come over here, I'm going to go into Blackboard. This is not going to look the same for you guys as it is for me, but you'll come into our class, and under Tools, you'll go to My Grades, and then you'll see the list of grades. I'm a teacher, so I don't have grades. I have grades. I have a grade book. I have to do the grading, but it doesn't show anything here. Y'all have the student version. You'll see a list of grades there. When you see your grades, you have, it used to be a 0, but in my grade book, I think I changed it, because in my grade book, it's coming in as a check mark. But you guys are going to see a grade there, whether it's a 0, because it's a red line, it's not for any points. Whatever the grade is, you're going to click on that grade, and then you'll see my notes to you. You'll see your attachment at the top, any notes that you type to me. Then you'll see my notes to you and my attachment at the bottom. So when you guys get ready to open it up and make your changes, especially to the DWIFs, just know yours was not sheer perfection. I will never send it back to you without saying anything at all on it. So if you open it up and you're like, oh, sweet, she didn't say anything at all, it must be perfect. I don't need to make changes. You opened yours. You didn't open mine. Even if you made a 100 on it, mine would in red say, great job, 100. It would say something on it. And so I have students, not so much anymore, but it used to be kind of an issue where students would open it up. They would open up, go to my grades. They'd click on the first DWIF they see, not realizing that was their submission to me. They click on it and they're like, oh, sweet. I aced it. She didn't have any comments. And then the end of the semester rolls around and portfolio time, and it's like, I don't have a grade for you on this project. And it turns out I do have comments. Even if you did wonderful and you had a perfect grade, I will say wonderful, perfect grade, and you will see the grade in your grade book. So
we open the DWIF, we look at the corrections that need to be made, we open the drawing file, we made all the changes in the drawing file,
You got
we
it.
submitted as another
you got
DWIF,
it, another
right?
DWIF. You got it, exactly. And you're welcome to either move the DWIF to one screen, whatever I sent back to you, or print it out if you feel like you need a sheet of paper. I'm anti-printing, so I would just use it on my screen. I like that better, but
I had to
if
use
you
a
need
magnifying
paper, that's
glass on the
fine.
op-amp thing. That one was hard to see, and it was like I couldn't zoom it anymore. It zoomed too much on my screen, and I didn't get to I couldn't see it at all. I had magnifying glass, and I was like, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was kind of challenging.
Yeah.
We need to put more time, so
All right, so I'm gonna let your screens go. It's 3:35. We're here till 5 today. Work or don't. I mean, I don't know if you're done. Go home. Work or don't. I don't know. So, but you guys know what you need to do. Do y'all have questions for me?